So you have an idea for a really cool podcast. What now? How do you take that idea in your head and make it come to life? You're in the right place. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that, and by the end of this video, you'll be ready to watch this video, our step-by-step guide on recording, editing, and publishing a podcast. Let's get right into it. Now, take your time watching this video and be sure to put in the work ahead of time to make sure that your podcast is well planned out and ready for production. The very first thing you need to do is research. I know it's not what you wanted to hear, but don't worry, we'll get into the fun stuff soon. What are we researching? Your target audience. This is the people that you're creating your podcast for. So take a minute to think about your podcast. Who would be the people that are interested in it? Is it a health and fitness podcast that would target beginner gym goers or advanced nutritionists? Write down who they are. When do they listen to podcasts? Is it on their commute to work? While they're doing chores, on a run? This will help you decide on the ideal length of your episodes. For example, is your podcast for business professionals who commute to work? Perhaps you have longer episodes to fill their commute time. Or maybe it's for parents who only have time to listen while driving to the grocery store. So shorter episodes are the way to go. Think about their pain points. What are some problems that need to be solved? Maybe it's for people who don't know what to do at the gym. Or maybe it's for nutritionists who are trying to start their online business. What platforms are they the most active on? This is how you will research and reach them. Here are a couple ways that you can research your target audience. Social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are great places to find your potential audience. First, choose the social media platforms where your potential audience is the most active. Then, follow industry experts and influencers in your niche. Keep an eye on these accounts and read their comments. Analyze where they're getting the most engagement. Take notes on what seems to be resonating the most with their audience. For example, if you're starting a podcast about health and wellness, you may follow influential fitness experts on Instagram. As you read through their content and comments, you might notice that posts related to healthy recipes get the most engagement. This can help you tailor your podcast content to include topics related to healthy eating and recipes to appeal to your target audience. Another way to research your target audience is by using keyword research tools. Choose a keyword research tool like Ahrefs Keyword Generator. Enter relevant keywords related to your niche. For example, if you have a podcast on freelance media production, you can search freelance media and see what comes up. Select questions, and now you will have a bunch of questions around the topic that can help you to be aware of your target audience's pain points, which is key to creating helpful and valuable content. You also want to research other podcasts in your niche. What are they doing? What's working? What's not working? What could you do differently to stand out? Here's a template that you can use to research other podcasts in your niche. I'll link it in the description of this video. All right, you've done your research. Now the fun part. Think about the name of your favorite podcast. It wouldn't be the same without any other name, would it? Here's some things that should be considered when naming your podcast. Although it may seem fun to have a mysterious or ambiguous name, you have to remember that the more accurate and descriptive your podcast name is, the more easily your audience will be able to find you on streaming platforms. First, think of your category. Is your show about fitness, politics, news, education, or wellness? From there, think of your angle. What is the specific topic that you will be talking about within that category? Will you be talking about a specific training program? Will you be giving daily news updates? Will you be talking about a specific wellness topic? It's crucial to pinpoint your exact niche before coming up with a podcast name. Whether you're creating a show for a company with a pre-created brand or you're using your podcast to create a brand, you want to treat your podcast professionally from the beginning. Consider the brand characteristics that you want to promote and reinforce. What tone should your brand have? Is it funny or witty? Is it serious? Is it educational? Is it casual? Make sure that the name of your show will be aligned with the tone of your brand. A big way to gain new listeners is word of mouth. If someone is recommending your podcast to someone else, you want them to be able to remember it easily. In order to make your show name memorable, keep it short and sweet. Use simple words, catchy phrases, and avoid words that are difficult to spell. Make sure that the show name is something you love. You'll be talking about it and promoting it a lot, so you want to make sure that it's something that you love to hear. When you come up with an idea, sit on it for a couple days. See if by the end of the third day, you're still as excited as when you came up with it originally. Now, before you get attached to your name, make sure to research it. Find out things like, is there another podcast with the same name? Search the name of your podcast on a major streaming platform and see if anything comes up. Are the social handles available? Search the name of your podcast on a major social media platform and see if anything pops up. Is the domain name available? Use name.com to check to see what website names are available. Keep search engine optimization in mind for your podcast. You want the title to be creative and catchy, but try to balance that out with a title that includes your main keywords and show points. Because you're trying to keep the title short, you can always add in a subtitle to help with SEO. It can be easy to get writer's block when you're coming up with a podcast name. If you're stuck, try Riverside's free podcast name generator. Head to riverside.fm/podcast-name-generator. I've linked that in the description. Add a couple descriptive words about your podcast and hit generate. Riverside will provide you with a bunch of name ideas for your show that you can use or at least use to lead you in the right direction. Now it's time to pull out your design techniques. Okay, so we aren't all graphic designers, but your podcast cover art is the first piece of content that potential listeners will see, which means you want to make sure that it's designed properly and catches people's eye. It's also a required piece of content to have to get your show onto the streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If designing something from scratch seems overwhelming, there are other ways to create your cover art. You can hire someone. Use a website like Fiverr to hire a professional to design your artwork based on your guidelines. You can use a website with templates. A great option for this is Canva. All you have to do is sign up or log in and search podcast cover art in templates. Canva will have a bunch of cover art options to choose from that you can customize with your font, colors, and images. Create it through Spotify for Podcasters. When you add your podcast to Spotify for Podcasters, you can create cover art directly on the platform. Here are some best practices to follow. Number 1 is to know your show's angle. You want your cover art to reflect your show's topic, tone, personality, style, and genre. For example, if your show is revolving around your personality, you may want the focus of your cover art to be a picture of you. If your show is about a specific topic, you want to design something that encapsulates that topic. If you're promoting your business, you will want to use recognizable logos and fonts. Number 2 is to understand your audience. You don't want your cover art to appeal to everyone. You want it to attract your target audience. So take your audience demographic into consideration when deciding on cover art. For example, bright colors may appeal to a young audience, while a dark formal style may appeal to business professionals seeking out a podcast on marketing. Number 3 is to meet the requirements. Most directories have the same or similar requirements for podcast cover art size, resolution, and file type. For instance, Apple Podcasts requires an image size of 3000 by 3000 pixels, a resolution of 72 dpi, a JPEG or PNG file type, and RGB color space. Make sure that your podcast artwork is not blurry or pixelated. Most directories also suggest that your artwork contains your show's name in a clear, large font, which brings me to the next point. Number 4 is to keep it versatile. Keep in mind that today's podcast listeners experience your show on a wide variety of devices. Some might listen exclusively on their mobile phone, while others may toggle between their desktop, computer, phone, and even tablet. So your thumbnail needs to be legible even at a thumbnail size on your mobile device, which is why a large font is best. A great way to check this is to export your cover art in 55 by 55 pixels to make sure that it looks good even at the smallest size. Number 5 is to keep it simple. You may be tempted to include a busy background or the names of the hosts, but remember, less is more. You don't want to cram too much information into a small space. Try sticking to 5 words or less and 2 to 3 colors. Another thing you'll need before setting up your podcast is a podcast description to tell potential listeners what your show is about. However, you're not just telling people what your show is about, you're also telling search engines. If someone types in nutrition podcast and your show is all about healthy living, then guess what? You want to pop up. You've already researched your target audience, so now's the time to think about what they'd be searching for. For a nutrition podcast, your audience is probably searching things like healthy recipes and daily nutrition guide. You'll want to include these kinds of words throughout your podcast description. To easily create a podcast description, open up ChatGPT and enter this prompt. I am creating a podcast for, and insert as much about your target audience as you know. The podcast will be And insert your genre. Is it funny, serious, or informational? I want you to create a short podcast description that includes keywords like, and insert the keywords that you thought of. ChatGPT will give you a description that you can either use or use to lead you in the right direction. You keeping up so far? It's a lot of information, but don't worry, it's everything you need to know to prepare to record. Let's move on to podcast intro music. Ideally, you will want to decide this before recording your podcast trailer, which we'll talk about shortly. You've listened to podcasts in the past, and you've probably heard something like this.
This is a Global Cal-Link prepaid call from
Adnan Sayed,
an inmate at a Maryland Correctional Facility.
Or this.
From the New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. A few days ago.
This is often the first impression you make on your podcast listeners, so you better make it good. Ideally, you should keep this between 15 and 30 seconds. This is short enough to set the tone for the show and not deter listeners. It should play within the first minute-ish of your episode. There's a ton of online resources where you can explore to find this music. It's very important for you to use royalty-free or custom-made music that you have the rights to. Otherwise, you risk your podcast being taken down or maybe even running into some legal trouble. Yikes. As long as you download your music off a subscription-based royalty-free music website like Artlist.io, Epidemic Sound, or Adobe Stock Audio, or a free site like Mixkit or Free Music Archive, you'll be covered. To learn more about copyright-free and royalty-free music to use in your podcast, you can head to the video linked above. You can also consider getting your intro music composed specifically for your show by working with a freelance composer using a website like Fiverr or Upwork. So what kind of music should you consider? This is where the magic really happens. You want to match the genre of your music choice to the genre of your podcast. For example, if you have a horror or true crime podcast, you'll want something mysterious and haunting, like this. Whereas if you have a comedy podcast, you might look for something light, bubbly, and fun.
Smart, less, smart, less, smart, less.
You want something that complements your show and sets the mood for the rest of the content. It's important to remember that if you have a video podcast, you'll want a video asset to go along with your episode. You can create a fun short video that introduces the host and the show, similar to what you would see on a YouTube channel. Or you can keep it simple with a picture of your cover image resized to a landscape aspect ratio. Okay, so you have your podcast name, your cover art, your description, and brand music. You'll need some equipment to get started. Here's a list of what you'll need and some recommendations. You'll need a device, either a laptop, a phone, or a tablet. Now, there's a lot to learn about the best device to use for a podcast, so head to the video linked above to learn more about what to choose. You want to be able to capture high-quality audio for your podcast, so you'll need a dedicated mic rather than using the built-in microphone on your laptop. For basic audio quality, you can use wired headphones with a mic on them. If you want higher audio quality and you're recording on your computer, you'll want a USB microphone. A budget-friendly microphone is the Samson Q2U or the AT2100X. However, if your budget allows, we recommend the Shure MV7. For more mic recommendations, head to the video linked above. You'll also want a pop filter or a windscreen for your mic to help with audio quality. You can get these easily on Amazon and most are universal, but it's always good to make sure that it will fit your mic before you buy it. You'll also need headphones to monitor audio levels and prevent any echo in the recording. Any headphones around the house will do, but if you want to be able to thoroughly monitor your audio, I recommend spending some money on a higher quality pair. You want to make sure your headphones are wired, not wireless. Wireless headphones will cause a delay that will make monitoring sound more difficult. The two that we recommend are the Sennheiser HD25 and the Audio-Technica ATH M20X. If you want to learn more about podcasting headphones in more detail and what to consider, check out the video linked above. Lastly, you'll need a camera if you're doing a video podcast. You can use your built-in webcam for this, But if you want higher quality video, we recommend either using your phone camera or purchasing a high quality webcam. The continuity camera feature on Mac and iPhone will allow you to wirelessly use your iPhone as an external webcam for your Mac. If you're opting for an external webcam, we recommend the Anker PowerConf C200. Alright, you have everything ready to go, so it's time to record your trailer. This is like an elevator pitch for your show, and it's the first thing that you'll upload to your podcast hosting site. Here are some best practices. Try to keep it under a minute and a half. You want this to be short and sweet and just enough to hook your audience into listening to the show. Try to capture the message of your show as concisely as possible. Include music to engage the audience more. This is a great place to use that introduction music that you recently picked out. Listen to the music while you're recording. This will help your voice match the energy of the music and sound more natural. You'll need a video asset alongside the audio for video podcasts. This can just be a video of yourself recording the trailer. This will give the audience more of an insight into who you are when you show the face behind the voice. It can seem daunting to make a podcast trailer. To make this simple, follow this simple format. Fade in your music, introduce the name of the show, introduce yourself and the others involved. Who are you? What's your role on the podcast? Why did you create the podcast? This is your chance to tell your story and share your personality with potential future listeners. Describe the show in a few sentences. What's it about? What's your format? What can listeners expect to hear about? Try to follow along with the dynamic of your show. For example, if you have a co-host and you guys have great banter, include them in the trailer and use that aspect of your show to pull people in and demonstrate what they can expect to hear. Sell the show. Why should they listen to your podcast over another one? What makes your show special? Have a call to action. Let them know where they can find your show and when new episodes come out, and then fade out your music. Once you've written your trailer, it's time to record. Riverside is a great place to record your trailer. You can get up to 2 hours free on the platform to try it out, so creating your trailer is a great way to get a feel for it. Once you log in and create a studio for your podcast, enter the studio. In the lobby, you can select the equipment that you'd like to use. Once you enter the studio, upload your podcast intro music. Head to Media, select the plus button, and add your intro music file. It will take a second to upload. When you are recording your trailer, you want to make sure that the live button is toggled on under the media board. This will make sure that your media is actually recorded throughout the recording of your podcast trailer. You also want the volume of your media track to be low-ish to make sure that your voice is heard over the music. You can also add your script to the top of the screen so that you're still looking at the camera while you're reading your script. Once you press record, you're going to want to play your music and then read your script. If you mess up, restart your music and start your script again. You want your voiceover to line up with your music for editing purposes. Welcome to the Bar High Media Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, and this podcast is all about freelancing in the world of media. When you're done, select View Recordings. Once the recording has uploaded and processed, head into the editor. You can use this video if you're creating a video podcast, but if you only need audio, you can select Tracks and select Use Audio Only. Under Magic Tools, you can remove all silences from your recording. You can also take out any mistakes using the Split and Delete function, or by deleting unwanted text from the text-based editor. Design your trailer by using the tools on the top menu. You can add a background and a logo if you'd like. And you can even add captions that will be generated from the transcript. When the trailer is ready, press Export. You can export in up to 4K depending on your camera quality, as well as normalize audio levels and remove background noise. The trailer will be ready to download shortly. If you want to put in your music on a different platform so you can do things like fade in and out, then you can simply download the high-quality audio track from the recordings page. Finally, it's time to plan your episodes. Planning your episodes in seasons can be a game changer. It helps you to avoid burnout, explore with focus, as well as adapt and pivot. Let's dive into the step-by-step process of planning and organizing your podcast content effectively. We're going to fill out this podcast season planning worksheet. I've linked this in the description, so print it out and follow along or just grab a piece of paper. Step 1 is to define your objective. What do you want to achieve with your show? Are you aiming to educate, entertain, inspire, or provide actionable insights to your audience? Defining your objective will help guide your content choices and help you stay focused and deliver value consistently. Let's say your objective for your podcast on personal development is to empower your audience with practical strategies and tips for achieving personal growth and self-improvement. So take a moment to write down the objective of your show. What do you want your listeners to gain from it? Now let's move on to step 2, identifying your content buckets. I want you to think of your podcast niche and identify 3 broad content buckets that align with your objective. These buckets represent the main category of themes that your episodes will fall into. For example, within the niche of personal development, your content buckets could be mindset, productivity, and relationships. Step 3 is to brainstorm episode ideas. With each content bucket, brainstorm specific episode ideas that provide value to your audience. Let your creativity flow and think of unique angles, stories, and who you can interview that aligns with each theme. For example, under the productivity content bucket, you could start with an episode on self-reflection and goal setting, followed by episodes on improving time management and productivity, building strong relationships, and finish with an episode on holistic well-being. Step 4 is to create a season roadmap. With your episode ideas on hand, create a season roadmap or outline. Map out the order and sequence of episodes, ensuring a logical flow and progression of topics. This roadmap should provide a cohesive narrative arc for the season, keeping your listeners engaged and eager for more. Take a moment to order the sequence of your episodes to create a season roadmap that creates a cohesive flow. Step 5 is to do this with your 2 other seasons. You can create episode ideas that expand on similar episodes in other seasons. For example, in your first season that's based on productivity, you have an episode on improving time management. In your later season, focused on mindset, you could have a complementary episode on the power of your mindset in improving time management. By having complementary episodes across seasons, it gives you the chance to use new episodes to promote old episodes, reviving them for your listeners. Step 6 is to pick your first season. For this, go with the season that has the most powerful episode ideas. This ensures that your show will start off with a bang, and you'll be able to further develop the later season's ideas once you get more of an understanding of the audience you're developing. Before we get into planning your episode outline, you may be wondering where you can find guests that match your episodes. If you're planning on having guests on your show, check out the video linked above for how to find and reach out to guests. Now you want to plan your episode outline for the first episode. I like to think of a podcast episode like an essay. For each episode idea, create an outline that includes an introduction, 3 main points with supporting questions, information, or examples, and a conclusion. This will help you stay on track during recording and ensure that your episodes deliver the intended value to your audience. By planning all of your episodes out before recording, you can make sure that they are intertwined and build on each other. Let's look at my podcast template document. I will link it in the description so you can use it for your podcast as well. Keep the introduction short. Welcome listeners to the show, introduce the host or the hosts, give a quick pitch about what the podcast episode is about, and a brief summary of what's coming up on the episode. You can use the same template for this for every episode. You can write out your main talking points word for word or as bullet points to help you stay on track. Include potential segues between topics. It's a good idea to include estimated timestamps here to make sure that you keep the show on track. In this template, I have a spot for ad reads, but if you're not there yet, you can just ignore that spot and keep it blank. Once you've hit all of your main points, thank your audience for listening, give a quick recap of what was covered in the episode. Here you can announce any events or upcoming episodes or promotions, and include your socials and make sure to have some sort of call to action. For example, your outline for the self-reflection and goal-setting episode could include the following. Briefly introduce the topic of self-reflection and goal-setting and explain why it's important for personal development. Discuss the benefits of self-reflection and goal-setting. Provide practical strategies for setting effective goals and tracking progress, and share personal anecdotes or stories that illustrate the power of self-reflection and goal setting. When you're done, the conclusion could be summarizing the main points and emphasizing the importance of self-reflection and goal setting for personal growth. Having a podcast outline before recording will help you immensely to stay on track and sound professional. Congratulations, you're fully prepared for recording your first episode. You can confidently move on to this video next, where Stephen will take you through the process of recording, editing, and publishing your podcast episode. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And before you go, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for more videos from Riverside. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Bridget, and I'll see you in our next one.